Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Sorry I had to split that video. Men, or at least this man, should not try and multitask too many items at once. I think the best number of items to do at any one time is one. That way you do that one and do it properly. Anyway, on the note of plants to go, that was a sad loss for me. That was Oncidium White Cloud. I will look for it again. So that's a cat just deciding to leave. That's a sad loss. That's a Delenatii, and that was the Alba version. Possibly a combination of moisture in that crown and a cooler temperature than it would probably like. But it's a loss, it's gone. There's no way that's coming back. Now that little plant lost its leaves. My daughter was looking after it, and coming up to her operation and everything, she wasn't looking after her plants properly. Other things on her mind. And things got left to dry for too long, and this little thing lost its roots. I thought I could recover it by actually standing it in some moss, but failure. And this has got to go. I mean, that's that Golden Wool Orient. I think it was a BLC, lost its tag. But even if that did recover, that's a good 3 years off blooming. I've got other orange Cattleyas. I'll replace it or stick with what I've got. And that used to be a Deesa once. I'm just clearing out empty pots basically. So, you know, some to go. I've got new plants coming in and a show coming up. I need space, and I'll go over my rescue Cattleyas in the not too distant future. I think I've made my mind up. Nearly all of them are just going to go. They're taking up room that could be better used. But anyway, that's the start. Now let's get back to mucking about with remounting and doing things like that, which was where I started some time ago. Nearly dark now. Right, back to the work in the kitchen stuff. Okay, the only other one I'm going to look at today is this Cattleya maxima. Now, again, just decided to do a bit of research, and as you probably all know, there are two distinct forms. How the hell they haven't been given different names yet, I really don't know. But this grows from literally right down at sea level, virtually, up to sort of 1,500 metres. But in doing so, it has two forms. There's a lowland form, grows down near the coast, and there's an upland form, grows higher up the hillsides. And they have two distinct looks about them. This must be an upland type, because if it was a lowland type, it can grow to 24 inches long, pseudobulb and leaves together, and this one isn't. And given that it has pushed some reasonable new growths capable of pushing a sheath at these sizes, it's got to be an upland type. What do we read into upland type? Cooler. Now this is a tolerant beastie as a single species, on the grounds that it can grow from pretty damn warm down on the coast, probably with some sea breezes, but nonetheless, and pretty high up, so quite cool in the winter times. So this may just have been one of those, it's been growing too warm, it's been up in the roof. The bright light was the important thing for me. Well, you have to tailor the bright light with the fact that it doesn't like getting too warm, or this particular version of Maxima shouldn't be getting too warm. So given that the best roots on here are actually attached to the bark, and the consequences of taking this off will probably damage, break and lose those roots. The manky roots that I've got, I mean, these are dead. Yeah, I'm just going to clean the plant. Oh, there's a live one there. So I'm just going to clean the plant up, and to do that I'm not going to unmount it. I'm going to tease out all of the old moss and just clean it up, give it a good run under the tap, get as much of that old stuff off as possible, and then as a precaution give it a spray with the old H2O2 and turn it into H2O in the process, and keep it cooler. It distinctly says that new roots come from new growths. Yeah, well, I've got a tiny little new growth here. Yeah, if any new roots come out of that, they're going to go straight down in this direction and get to the bark. This is the growth that started me worrying. That's almost mature now. That's the best growth it's ever had. No sign of a sheath yet, but that's not my worry at the moment. Blooms are the least of my problems on this plant. But the roots that have come out from below that new growth, or look as though they've come out from that new growth, in actual fact are older roots. This new growth hasn't really done the roots thing yet. They need to push through this sheath. So maybe I'm worrying about old roots, but you can see what I'm getting at. These roots started to grow, stopped, started to grow, no growing tip. Same with this one. This one was a nice long root, started to branch, and the branches stopped growing. This one has stopped growing. So it does have an inherent problem within it. So first of all, let's exclude the nasty bit. I found a sacrificial lamb. I mean, this is a good plant. If that loses one bulb, the plant won't even know it's gone. It's just not worth the risk. So the sacrificial lamb is this one hanging out the side for no other reason than I can get at the base of it. So he's coming off so that we can do the magic test. As I say, it's not going to hurt the plant, the look of it, or anything. Off you come. Squeaky clean. Absolutely green. No sign of anything. Oh, you won't be able to see that. I've cut that in so tight. But basically, it's green. There are no colour, no discolorations, no signs of any purple. So again, zero, zilch, not a problem. So I'm going to put a bit of cinnamon on that. There's no point in doing that yet, because boy are you going under the tap. I'm going to wash out all this old moss, get these roots as clean as I possibly can, give it a spray with the old H2O2, hydrogen peroxide for those who don't know, and then I may just put a little bit of new moss around it. But quite honestly, this one's probably going to stay bare rooted. The roots that have done the best have gone directly onto the bark, not in the moss. Yeah, so that tells me that that's how it likes to be. Okay, so that's what's going to happen with this one. I'll show you it when I've cleaned it up, but I won't show the process because I'll have my back to you. Okay, I'll come back when I've done that then. So there we go then. I've got as much of the moss off as I possibly could, which is virtually all of it, apart from any that's right under the very base of that plant. I can't get at that. But that's actually a better root system than I was expecting in under all that green. And as I say, you can see why I didn't want to unmount it. It's just got far too many good roots that are actually attached. So it would have done more harm than good. We've declared it clean of the nasty F word. It's had a hell of a good spray with the hydrogen peroxide. A point of order. It suddenly dawned on me the hydrogen peroxide is at 3%. So by volume, that is an incredibly low amount of the good stuff. Yeah? Now at the point where I was about to spray this plant, I'd just been running it under the tap. It was absolutely soaking wet and covered in water. So if I'd sprayed 3% into that environment, I'd have probably reduced it down to 2% or even 1%, because it would have just mixed with the water that was already there. So quite honestly, for the hydrogen peroxide to do its job properly, it should be sprayed into a dry environment, not a sopping wet one with drips of water all over the place. So what I did was I dabbed this as dry as I possibly could with some kitchen towel, some paper towel, to get as much of the moisture away from it as possible so that the magic stuff could do its job. And you know what? For the first time I actually saw it fizzing. I've been using that stuff a while now, and I've often thought, this stuff's no good. Perhaps I got sold some duff stuff, because it never fizzed, but this time it did. And do you know where it fizzed most? On the bark. And do you know why it was probably fizzing on the bark? It was killing algae and any spores that may have been lying around. Yeah? So, hopefully that is now a completely sterile piece of bark, and you know, any algae or anything like that should be at least at a very low level, if not dead. And let's hope we can get some new roots to push out now. Nice clean roots, getting onto nice clean bark, and I think that is just going to do better. Care wise, bright light, yes, it's an upland type. The clue is in the name, quite honestly. If it's deep down in the jungle forests in a montane environment, it's not going to get a huge amount of light. Might get the odd snippet, but not a lot. But as soon as you start climbing up the hillsides, the trees get thinner. Yeah? Some of them start to become deciduous trees the higher you get. So the chances are the upland type gets pretty good light. And in addition to that, it hasn't got any sea breezes keeping it moist. Nonetheless, you know, probably likes a good bit of moisture in the air. But the higher you climb, the cooler it gets. This is an upland type, of that I am certain, even though it wasn't said as such when I got it. And as a consequence, it's now got to get the same treatment as the last little one. Bright light, cooler temperatures. This poor thing's been up in the roof. Warmest place I've got. So you're coming down, mate. So bright light, cooler temperatures, and a cleaned up root system. And a really strong new growth. It's got a previous growth there with a sheath in it. That may well be blind. I've not had it long enough to bloom it, so I don't know whether it's one of those Cattleya types that puts out a sheath and then the buds come quite a long time after. I mean, you've got three basic types. You've got those that produce a sheath and the buds come out pretty quick and they break through the green sheath and up they go. Pretty flowers. Then you've got those that produce a sheath and nothing happens for quite a while, often to the point where the sheath actually just goes brown and looks dead. And then the buds push up through and break out. And then you get others that produce buds with no sheath at all. They come straight out of there. Literally. So I don't know which sort this is. All I know is that that latest huge new growth on there has not got a sheath in it yet. However, the previous growth did push up a sheath. I was expecting great things of that at the time. But now I've seen the size of this new growth, perhaps that was pushing its luck. Anyway, back to your new home. And that's all I'm going to film for today. Battery's getting incredibly low now. It's just about to go red. And I've got some other things to do. Okay, thanks for dropping by. Hope you've got a bit out of this. Again, changes of plans. I was going to remount that, take it off, put it back on. I left it on and just cleaned it up. And a couple of little care tips as we went along. That was new to me too. Never stop learning. Yeah? Always look things up. Do a bit of research when you get a spare minute. You only need to do it one plant at a time. You haven't got to do your whole flipping collection in one go. And even if you've got, you know, say you had just a collection of Dendrobium species and you've got 20. Well, they're all different species. They might not need the same treatment. You've seen my Dendrobium collection. I've got lots of different types in there. And they've got totally different care requirements. Some rest, some don't. Some grow continuously. Some like to stay warm. Some like to cool down in the winter. So do a little look up every now and again and get to know your plants as well as you can. Because once you get in that position, you can do the best you can for them. And even though that might not be perfect, the closer you get to perfect, the happier your plant will be. So happy growing, thanks for dropping by, and see you next time. Okay, I said I'd drop back on these. It's been about an hour. They've been sat out here on the floor. They were dripping wet, crowns full of moisture, chemical in fact, as it happens. And let's have another look. Yeah? We're good. They're already dry. Yeah? Crown's good. Yeah, nicely dried out. So these can now go back and get set up indoors. And yeah, as I say, that's a job well done. And in addition to that, that's their first decent food they've had for a while. So we'll see what response they get to their new feed. New breakfast for you guys. Okay, so reason these dried fast, it's not that warm out here. It's about 18 degrees C. That's not warm. In fact, that's at the lower end of these guys' requirement. They're not supposed to go down much below that, if at all. Their ideal temperatures, well up in the 20 degrees C, 25, 26, 27 is good for them. They don't need ridiculously high humidity, but they do like to stay warm. It's where they come from. But the reason they've dried out quickly is not the temperature. That's been blowing over them since they were put down on the floor. You keep your air moving, you can keep your plants dry. If you keep your plants dry, you should avoid various rots and all that sort of stuff. It's really important to keep your air moving. And these are just going to come back indoors where the air is virtually still. But most of these are hybrids. They do okay. Changed my mind. Another bit added on and yet another ending. I thought it's all very well talking about new homes for these, but they're in them. Let's have a look at them. Yeah, so this particular one, this is the Sophronitis coccinea. One of the most important things I found out of that is it needs really good air circulation. Now, to really mention that in care on a plant, it's got to be important. I mean, good air movement's good for all our orchids, but to specifically say needs good air circulation. So where have I put it? Low down, yeah, so it's out of the heat, yeah. It's got light directly coming in around it, because there's no shading ever goes on this end. I mean, in the summer it might have to move a bit because the sun does come around there, but it's late in the afternoon, it can take it. But what's the most important thing? When that thing swings round, it's blowing straight on that plant. You don't get much better air circulation than that. So that's its new home. I hope I found everything that plant needs for it. And what about the other one? The other one has gone over there. Now again, that's close to the glass, but it's right down low. Yeah, so it's a lot cooler down here. I move my little temperature gauge around, checking things, yeah? And that's a lot cooler down there. It's still going to get some good light. I mean, literally with no shade netting on the end, if the sun ever comes out, when it gets round here, it's almost in full sun, which it says it can take. I mean, this is winter sun in the UK, don't forget. It's like turning a torch on. Anyway, that's their two new homes. Where did they used to live? The Sophronitis was up there, and Maxima was up there. Right up in the roof. Good light, yes, but too warm. So, we'll cool them down a bit. You show off. You just can't help yourself, can you? See you next time. Thanks for dropping by again.